They say if you aren't cheating, you aren't trying. Throughout the history of professional basketball, cheating has been part of the game, whether it be on the court, off the court, with other players' wives. Yeah, you get it. Today we're going to look at every NBA team's most cheatingest moment, and that's coming up right after this. And yes, cheatingest is a word. Do you know what you need to stay true to your word? Being on time. And when it comes to high quality, high value watches, Vincero has you covered. Vincero watches sells directly to you. They cut out the middleman and they deliver to you the same look and feel as a luxury watch at 1/10 of the price of other manufacturers. And for those of you who say you don't need a watch, trust me, you can't always be rude and take out your phone to check the time. Look at these bad boys right here. The blue Kairos on the left and the Bellwether on the right. If showing up with one of these on your wrist doesn't get you noticed or complimented, you need to trade in your friends or hang at better places. Vincero has received over 15,000 5-star reviews, so you know I'm not just blowing smoke. After this video, march confidently on over to the link below, enter in my code 5points, and get 15% off your entire order. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed in this watch. Again, go to the link below and use my code 5points for an additional 15% off your order. Vincero, exceptionally crafted, fairly priced. Before we get into all the cheating, there is important criteria. Simply being a scandal does not qualify as cheating. That's another video. There needs to be intent to willfully deceive fans, the league, hell, everybody under the sun. Most of these focus on the organization itself and systemic cheating, but some do fall on individual players, and these are ranked from lowest to highest. With not much scandal to be embroiled in, the most cheatingest thing the Suns have done is buy out old-ass Tyson Chandler as a favor to LeBron James. In 2018, the Suns had a choice to retain Chandler, and after some likely tampering from the Lakers, bought him out. He ended up signing with LA and missed the playoffs too. The most nefarious thing the Bucks have done was have guard OJ Mayo get popped for PEDs. Mayo got nabbed for using DHEA in 2011, and then in 2016, OJ was banned for 2 years for pissing hot on an undisclosed substance. Maybe he was putting extra juice in his mayo. The squad that was involved in the Malice at the Palace and Reggie Miller's theatrics doesn't have much on them in terms of institutional cheating. Their biggest violation? Having banned NBA player Roger Brown on their team from 1967 to 1974. Brown was banned for knowing a gambler who was involved in point shaving. How did the Pacers have him? Well, they were an ABA team back then. Brown retired as one of the ABA's greatest and is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. John Stockton and Karl Malone made an entire career out of being slimy little weasels. Though one of the most productive duos in the history of basketball, both Hall of Famers dished out their share of elbows, illegal screens, and bruises. Malone would maul players and then cry foul if he got touched. Stockton would use his small size to his advantage and set illegal screens while spearing people. Dennis Rodman called Stockton dirty. You will see throughout this list that the NBA isn't known for PEDs, because roids don't make you taller. But Hedo Turkoglu got nabbed for methanolone in 2013 and Rashard Lewis for DHEA in 2009. Methanolone, though, is definitely a PED. Does Turkoglu take steroids? He do. Though cleared of tampering with LeBron, even after Dan Gilbert hired investigators to prove it, Miami has cheated on the court too. In the 90s, the Knicks and the Heat were bitter rivals, and things got physical. Such was the case in 1997 when PJ Brown hip-tossed Charlie Ward and set off a brawl in a brilliant stroke of cheating. Knowing the Knicks would leave their bench, which is an automatic suspension, Brown cleared the way for the Heat to come back from a 3-1 deficit, as 5 Knicks were suspended for the last 2 games, while only Brown sat for the Heat. Nice move, Dick. This isn't totally cheating, but is the most lame attempt at swaying public opinion that resulted in the opposite effect. The following is a true story. The Rockets audited all the calls from last year's Western Conference Finals, and like a fat kid's science project on Tom Brady, concluded that the Warriors got all the calls. I haven't read the report yet, but I'm sure it omits missing 27 threes in a row. You will hear this word a lot, tampering. Though the NBA seems to do nothing about their own rules, the Hawks got nabbed for tampering because they were so obvious about it. In 2013, they sent out letters to prospective ticket buyers mentioning both Dwight Howard and Chris Paul as potential Hawks for the upcoming season. This was the definition of tampering, I guess. They did get one out of those two. How did that work out? The team that liked to bring guns into the locker room isn't short on tabloid fodder, but is lacking on overt cheating. Jody Meeks was suspended in 2018 for ipamorelin and GRHP2, basically growth hormones. The journeyman and his 6.3 points per game would miss the playoffs. Known for getting cheated out of a trip to the finals, the Kings got nabbed for tampering back in 2013. And just like in 2002, this was some bullshit. Then coach Mike Malone stated to reporters that Chris Paul would look good in a Kings uniform, and the team got fined. Meanwhile, the players probably have servers on Discord discussing where they will play next. The Nets have a history of abusing refs, like in 2013 when Jason Kidd spilled a drink on the court and got a timeout. How about GM Sean Marks recently getting fined for entering the refs' locker room to yell at them like Dave Gettleman was in there? Coach Kenny Atkinson was also fined for verbally abusing the ref. In 2014, Nick Cathalis was caught using tamoxifen, a drug for breast cancer treatment. Why did he do that? It's a common masking agent, and it keeps you from getting tits. After being banned from the playoffs that year, his suspension was revoked, and he now plays in Greece. Though being a racist slumlord is not cheating, intentionally tanking is. I guess you could say losing to get better isn't bad if you never get better, right? The Clippers ran the most successful sham in sports for over 30 years. While living rent-free in the Lakers building, they had no incentive to win and just cash checks. It was their tanking in the 80s that caused the draft lottery to be born. The Clippers responded by defiantly continuing to lose. Be careful what you wish for. The Warriors openly tampered with KD, and Draymond immediately talked about him right after they blew a 3-1 lead. Apparently, the recruiting started a lot earlier than that. During Super Bowl 50, while Durant was still with the Thunder, he was given tours of the Bay Area. Draymond and Steph all hung out with him at the big game. Durant, of course, signed and immediately created 5 new Twitter accounts. If Stockton and Malone were dirty, the bad boys of Detroit took it higher than Elon Musk. But that's not their most cheatingest moment, as molesting people is just a strategy. The Pistons get the most out of their players by hazing them, like when they duct taped Spencer Dinwiddie to a chair and ran him under a cold shower. Luckily, Dinwiddie could take it and didn't sue the team. The most fined person in the history of the NBA is Mark Cuban, mostly earned with his mouth, like the time he lost $600K for admittedly tanking. However, his tampering with DeAndre Jordan would blow up in his face. In 2015, Cuban personally wooed the star, FaceTiming and texting him like a new couple. Then Jordan backpedaled like a cornerback in coverage, but eventually ended up on the Mavericks. The Hornets, in their varied and confusing history, have rarely had the time to cheat. They have been too busy sucking. Vlade Divac brought both himself and diving over from Europe, as the Hornets center's constant flailing and drama earned him the nickname Floppy Divac. Why are there rules in place when everybody ignores them? Minutes after the decision too, LeBron was on the phone with Kevin Love. He got a verbal commit from him and the trade for Wiggins was made. Though LeBron 100% tampered, no sanctions were issued because Adam Silver wouldn't want to fine his boss. There has never been any evidence to confirm the theory that MJ was suspended 2 years for gambling, but the Bulls did do something that was underhanded. Turned a blind eye to all of his gambling in order to keep winning. Jordan once owed $110K to a cocaine dealer. He was seen in Atlantic City before a playoff game. Though not illegal, the Bulls certainly did nothing about his airness and his vices. This one is hilarious because the Nuggets cheated out the entire WWE. In 2009, the Nuggets surprisingly advanced to the conference finals. Problem was, they double booked the Pepsi Center for Game 4. The NBA won the fight and the WWE took their ball to LA. Man, the Nuggets did do Vince pretty raw. What do you do when a generational talent is waiting in the wings and your star center is hurt? You tank like a submarine with screen doors and go from 1st to 6th in 1997 to get the first pick in the draft and then making the playoffs every year after that. Also in 2007, you knew you could get away with anything because Tim Donaghy wasn't calling shit and tossed Steve Nash into a table. If there ever was a case of tampering that was not worth it, it was the wooing by Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum to add Carmelo Anthony. McCollum even put this on his Instagram. The Knicks ought to be charged with cheating their fans out of money for the past 20 years, but James Dolan got fined in 2018 over $600K for not following FTC rules for announcing large acquisitions. I can't wait until he announces a large asset he has for sale. It was 10 years ago that a basketball team cheated an entire city out of basketball. After trying to hold Seattle hostage for a new arena, Howard Schultz sold the team to Clay Bennett, who moved them out of town faster than Charles Barkley in front of churros. With top pick KD, joined by Westbrook and Harden, OKC enjoyed immediate success while Seattle got nothing. In 2011, the struggling Hornets needed capital, and Tom Benson provided it, bailing out George Shinn and saving the franchise. They immediately got the top pick in the untelevised lottery selection. Coincidence? Was this a backdoor deal? We'll never know, but it does smell like the tide going out on the bayou. If you're gonna have someone woo a superstar to your team, whatever you do, don't let it be Drake. In 2014, at a concert that KD was attending, Drake asked the crowd to show their support for him coming to the Raptors. Apparently, this is somehow against the NBA rules and a $25K fine was levied. Most people call losing on purpose sucking. Sam Hinkie called it a process, and he was so good at sucking the league basically made him step down as GM. Then they hired Brian Colangelo, who went to the Kevin Durant School of Managing Your Social Media Presence. And what did all that tanking get them? A cute nickname. The largest fine ever levied over tampering was issued to the NBA's current tire fire, the Lakers, when they tried to get Paul George from the Pacers and got major blue balls. The fine was $500K. George denied the tampering. However, the NBA went deep into their phone records and texts and still found nothing. Hey, Boston isn't known for cheating, are they? In the 50s and 60s, Red Auerbach was famous for making his guests uncomfortable. He would assign visitors a new locker room every time. He would make sure at least one toilet was jammed by a Shaq-level deuce. Only cold water for the showers, and on top of that, he would have the boiler stoked to tip off and halftime to make the locker rooms toasty. What a dick. And finally, our most cheatingest moment from the most unlikely team. 4 years after drafting Joe Smith #1, the T-Wolves curiously signed him to a one-year, $1.75 million deal. The Warriors had offered the 23-year-old $80 million. This was weird. Turns out the Wolves had an under-the-table agreement to sign Smith to 3 consecutive one-year deals and then offer him a mega contract of $86 million. David Stern found out about this and punished the Wolves severely, taking 3 first-round draft picks. The whole thing sounds really stupid. What if Joe Smith got hurt? I mean, how did he fall for that? But as they say, cheaters never win. Well, unless it's tampering. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to check out my sponsor, Vincero, from the link below, and use my code 5points for an additional 15% off your order. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video.